This is the darkest, most horrendous episode of Swamp Thing yet. What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys my review on episode 4 of Swamp Thing. And man, we all know that this has been one awesome show so far in the genre of horror. I know I keep saying that, but I can't help myself because Swamp Thing is something completely different from Titans and Doom Patrol. And in Titans, it was action and drama. With Doom Patrol, it was just random drama weirdness all around. And this one, complete horror and darkness everywhere. But this episode right here, guys, took it to a whole new level. How so? Well, it started off at the beginning. I mean, seriously, the way it started off in the beginning, you got this kid here with his father out there in the forest, and then he gets to work and he has those hallucinations, and the next thing you know, he just goes nuts. He takes his arm and puts it inside that sink to try to get what he thinks is a snake that's on his arm when he's just hallucinating. Puts his arm in that sink and just gets himself caught. The ribbons there, man. If there was any way, let's just put it this way, guys. There was no more horrendous way to open up an episode than that. This was episode 4, and just right there and then it already caught my attention at how seriously dark and horrendous this was being. I was just like, damn, man, damn. Because seriously, whoa. After I saw that, I was like, whoa, I may need to take a breather here. And if that ain't enough, what we soon learned about here, though, was throughout the episode, is that this thing wasn't necessarily coming from the swamp, or maybe something it was, but not in a way of saying like the swamp's doing this on purpose. It was more of there was a darkness, because what was happening to that guy, it didn't just affect him, it affected someone else. It affected Liz's father, because then it went into this scene where he got into a hallucination. And let me just say, when we were seeing his hallucinations, especially during the nighttime, oh man, all I could just say is that felt like a real horror movie. Who am I kidding? This entire episode felt like a real horror movie. Liz's father seeing all these masked men and all with guns, axes and stuff, and I'm just like, dang, man. But then as time went on, did we find out what this was? You see, there was some sort of virus back in the 1930s for this town, and the virus would spread here and there, and then the corpse that was at the beginning of the episode that infected that guy who had a fear of snakes got onto him, and then the virus started spreading everywhere. That was until Abby, with the help of Swamp Thing, was able to get it out of the next victim after Liz's father, which was Matt's mother. Because Matt's mother, she's at a party, she sees the hallucination of thinking Matt's been attacked by some sort of thug or gangsters, and then right there, Abby shows up and is able to get the virus out of her. But let me just say, throughout that time, I was just holding my breath hard with every hallucination we were seeing from these people. But if that's not enough, when it got to Abby, did we see this Shadow Man guy talking about his mother and stuff? And while we don't know for certain who that guy is, I'm just taking a wild guess that maybe that is Anton Arcane, her uncle. Now in the comics, I've seen it in the comics, in the saga of the Swamp Thing. Yeah, Anton was something of like a Frankenstein sort of guy, because he was in a castle with all these people that kind of were like his little Frankenstein creations, and he was going to do that with Swamp Thing. Well, while we don't know for certain if that's him or not, that is definitely a good clue to it, especially with the way he was talking about trying to get her away from her mother or take her away from her mother, something around there like that. At first it made me think, is this her father at first? But then I was remembering back in the comics, because I'm still reading the Saga of the Swamp Thing comics, and yeah, seeing it how it is like that, and seeing how it was at the beginning when I started watching that, I was like, no, that's probably got to be her uncle. And maybe it is. We still aren't so sure, though. But one thing's for certain is that those hallucinations were like the big thing in this episode. And man, the way that all these actors kill it with their acting is definitely something else. Everyone in this cast is amazing, and and just so y'all know, that's what most of us in the DC community are saying, because you can't really not hate any of these actors, because they are killing it. Pretty much every DC character in the DC Universe shows have pretty much been killing it as their characters. It's amazing, and I just love it. But moving straight on, though, we learn a little bit more about Arcane. Not Arcane, I meant to say Avery Sutherland. We at least know a little bit about where he got his ruefulness, and no surprise, it's from his parents, because we saw this at the beginning of the episode. We saw this episode of a flashback back when he was with his dad, and his dad, well, he just hated the swamp. One reason for so is that he had a gator that he had pinned down, and he wanted his son to kill the gator, and he was saying in such prejudiced way, like saying the swamp, he hates the swamp so bad, and it can pretty much give you a clue, understand. Well, not understanding, but sort of understanding as to why Avery wants the swamp destroyed. His father hated the swamp, so it ended up going to him. He hates the swamp. But all that was going on while he was getting rid of the corpse of that guy he killed, in last week's episode. But also in this episode, do we still see more of his despicableness? Not exactly to the level that it was shown in last week, but into the level of wanting to adopt that Susie girl who was the first to be infected by this virus. He saw how Maria was being there with her, and he saw how it was making her all happy. And yet, as we all saw, that was really just a cover up, because he has bought her off for adoption from I guess Susie's uncle, who that guy who Avery was with, that guy at the end of the episode. But the question is, why? What is his end goal with her? Because I know and I'm sure part of him really does think it is good for Maria to have someone like Susie there, so it can make Susie heal more from the whole thing that happened with her daughter. But even still, this is Avery we're talking about here. He's got a contingency plan for it. No doubt he thinks that maybe in some way, somehow, she might be connected to that virus that happened and everything. Because one thing's for certain is that Susie is still thinking about Swamp Thing. Which, by the way, nice art look there she had right there. And yeah, I'm an artist too, but I don't know if I could do that. Maybe I could. I'm actually going to challenge myself to that and maybe show it in the future for you guys. But definitely, I loved that art she was showing. It was very beautiful. Nice job there, Susie. Good job on you. But also, with that in mind, though, was there anything else more? Well, not really else more to go off of, other than the guy. I keep forgetting his name. He was in last week's episode, the one who's known as the Blue Devil, who has been wanting to get out of the town for so long, and now he believes that somehow Abby is going to be that connection with how things might go for him going forward, because also he was with that fortune teller last week, just as he was this week, but there wasn't really much given to us from that. But that looks like something that'll be explored going forward. But one more other thing I forgot to say before I leave here was how Abby is wanting to help Swamp Thing find out what's happened to him so they can find a way to help him. But in doing so, while she was looking into it, was she back meeting with that doctor who we met 2 episodes ago, who is now working with her to an extent, and she's decided to give him that formula, which I don't think was a good idea at all. It was not a good idea at all, because I can just tell this screams bad news going forward. I forget the name of who he becomes in that comic, in the comics, because I guess that guy's still reading through that. All I just know is I think we've just found the key to making him become whatever that is he becomes in the comics, and one's gotta wonder what that means going forward for Alex, Swamp Thing, and Abby, since those two are working together now to be able to fix what's going on in the swamp and with the town. In other words, it's like they're trying to keep both alive. Well, good luck, guys, because we already know who the culprit is behind this, Avery. Abby, just be careful when you find out about it. And hey, we all know Liz is probably up to onto Avery in some shape or form, and she no doubt will be getting on it too, because Liz, we wouldn't see much of her in this episode, but like I said in my last video of the last week's episode, she is someone you can and not be impressed by with her reporting skills. And I would like to think her friend Matt Cable will help out in the end too, if in some shape or form, because he's still part of law enforcement, and considering some of all the laws and stuff and not enough proof, and instead hearing all this supernatural stuff will make him doubt what's going forward. But definitely, guys, I love this episode, the most horrendous of them yet. I loved it. It was great. And I just say, guys, I know we are all disappointed with Swamp Thing having been canceled. And I know some people are trying to cancel their subscriptions because of Swamp Thing being canceled. But I still keep my subscription, because here's the thing. It's not just the TV shows. I mean, yeah, that was one of the reasons I subscribed to the channel, but also all the comic books they get. Some of them which I don't need to worry about paying so much money just to get the hard copies of it. I mean, we all sometimes love to have them in our hands, but some of them out there we don't want to, because, well, like, let's save up money here in some way. But definitely, guys, I love this episode. I love the DC Universe streaming service, and I do hope they work their way into getting Swamp Thing back on track here, because I really do love it and I want them to keep it. So definitely, I am with people out there when they're upset with Swamp Thing, but I am not giving up hope that they'll find a way to get it back for us, because this is an amazing series. They made them as I don't know all the details of why they had to cut it short, but I still have hope that they'll find a way to get it back, because it is amazing. It's something completely different that hasn't been shown in the DC Universe at all, and I love it. It is awesome. But that'll be all for today, guys. And hey, if you're enjoying my videos, all I gotta do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. And until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye!